All right, man. We're live.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for doing this, man. I appreciate it very much. And the reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast, we were saying earlier, is because I thought you're an interesting dude. We met in the sauna at LA Fitness, and, you know, we just started chopping it up. And I was impressed by the way that you were able to make connections. We're speaking with the other guy, Lance, the music artist as well. And I was like, dude, all right, this guy's about it, you know? So you were telling me a little bit about, before we started, about how you got started into networking. And you started when you were a real young dude. You were outspoken, outgoing, and liked meeting people. But then in high school, you were interested in, or went to a party and saw that people were starting making money by networking and hustling. So explain to me a little bit what you were explaining to me before.
Yeah, so definitely, like I was saying, we did have I went to a party for the first time. I seen how the people that were throwing parties were making, about $600-$700 an event. I mean, living I guess you can say a 16, 17-year-old lavish lifestyle, bottles, girls, and things like that. So it was attractive to me, it was appealing. So I definitely jumped on that. I started seeing how it was done, and I used to tell all the people, because it wasn't just one party crew or one party little group. It was different party crews that I would, I guess you can say back then, pick their brains on how they would promote their parties. Yeah. And then kind of put them all into my parties.
I see.
Yeah, and at the time I was so young, I didn't know what I was really doing. I was just I used to hear Kobe Bryant, that was my idol when I was younger, talk about, I imitate the greats, Yeah. And so I was like, okay, if these people are making $700 each without each other, I'm going to see what they're doing each that are making $700. And I used to be, I guess, close to all of them. So they would not teach me, but I would just learn off of watching them.
Right.
Yeah, so I started doing that, and then, yeah, man, I threw my first party. It was I started learning how to do chain text messages,
Right.
And that was a big key, because I remember when I was throwing house parties, I would get about 400 new contacts every night.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I would have I can show you now, man. I have kind of setups on my phone of what to say after different conversations. Mm-hmm. So that I would just send a chain link, and then I would get the response I wanted. So they're kind of open-ended questions or tie-down questions. Yeah. I just didn't know what they were when I was that young. I was just asking them to get the response, because getting so many contacts, I knew it was a blessing, because that's how you would make money, Yeah. But that's why I would try to save them at that rapid speed.
Gotcha. And what kind of messages do you send to, get the response that you are looking for?
Well, now I know differently from being a manager at LA Fitness, how to ask proper questions. I would pretty much ask what's the special occasion, or depending on what it is that you're doing. For me, it's clubs. So if I would say, send people a birthday message, happy birthday,
Sure.
I just want to let you know, yada yada yada, I can get this many people in free, right? And then if they were to respond or give it a then I would be so how many people would you like? How many guests would you like for people to come with you on your guest list?
Sure.
And then they would tell me, I haven't thought about it, or stuff like that. And you just kind of go with the flow, okay, right. Well, great. Just to let you know, there's 5 people in free. I know it's your birthday. And then you kind of just paint a perfect picture for them, as in what the event's going to look like, so that they want to invite their friends to come,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the questions that you asked me whenever I was like, hey, what's cracking tonight? And then you're like, oh, I got this going on. How many guests do you want to bring with you? I was like, either 2 or 3. Didn't end up going, but, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, or also, what's the occasion? A lot of people sometimes contact me. Hey, what do you have going on tonight? Okay, well, what's the occasion? Yeah. Because if you know the occasion, emotional thing to why they want to go out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you know the emotion on why they want to go out, it's more of a likely that you can get them to come if you're good at sales. So what I would say is if you were to be it's my birthday, hey man, that's awesome. Come through, come with your friends. We can get them in free. I got bottle service. You kind of paint the pictures to them. And it's I'll think about it. be like, yeah, man, just make sure you let your friends know it's your birthday and you want to have something,
Yeah.
extravagant or something popping for you, and like
Yeah.
once you paint that picture, it's in their mind already.
Sure.
And that's how you kind of intrigue them to come to your event.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing whenever I see people who are in sales, the type of personality that they have. I used to work for New York Life Insurance Company as a salesperson for life insurance, and they tell you all these different types of things too, right questions to ask, what's the emotional attachment, because people like buy off emotion a lot of the times. So it's interesting to see your personality, because you totally fit like a sales go-getter mentality, which is cool. And that's what I noticed about you too.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, like I said, I was a manager for Ali Fitness for a couple years, and then T-Mobile.
Nice. And then you do right now promoting still for clubs as well, party buses and things like that.
Yeah.
What is your company, or what is the club?
Ace LA. Yeah, Ace LA. Yeah, and as well as we also are getting into like clothing lines and stuff like that. Yeah, because my nephew, he's another go-getter. I've known him for a while. Well, obviously he's my nephew.
Sure.
Yeah, he actually works for Atlantic Records. Remember I was explaining to you about that too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like he actually did a video shoot for E40 and this guy called Joe Moses. And Joe Moses, I was explaining to you before too, that wears his label or his gear. And they're actually asking us, because I got a brand new designer, like the person I was showing you that does sketches, and they want us to actually design a shoot for them.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah, so that's why we were in downtown right now looking at material and stuff like that as well.
That's cool, man. So you're into like a lot of different things.
Yeah, I read a lot of books, man, and that's what they say you got to do, you got to dip into different resources or different types of assets, because you can't get rich off of a 9 to 5.
Right. Like multiple sources of income, multiple streams of income. You got, with T-Mobile or club promoting or creating a brand, whatever it is. I think that's such a great way to look at life. Is like the 9 to 5 is a difficult way to go about your life, because a lot of people who are successful say that when you're doing the 9 to 5, it's a grind. A lot of people don't like their 9 to 5s. And so let me ask you this question. When you're trying to make money, why is it that you want to make money? Like, what is the purpose? Because a lot of the times I feel is to improve the quality of your life, support your family, have a roof over your head, food, clothes, things of this type of nature. Does that ring a bell with you?
Yeah, definitely. Mostly, from, my daughter, myself, my family, being able to provide, as well as to give back to communities. I feel like that's a big thing too. Not everybody has the perfect circumstance to get brought up. I think everybody does choose their own destiny, but it has a lot to do with where they were raised and how they were treated growing up.
Right.
A lot of kids that are not doing so well probably just didn't have the resources or didn't look hard enough to find the resources, because I'm not going to say I was blessed with just here's the books, here's the knowledge, here's how to do it. There was a lot of times where you had to just sit and meditate and think and plan, and then laws of attraction, I believe in that too. It just comes after you, and if you have the momentum, don't stop, because if you stop, you might have 2 months of still the same success, but eventually that success is going to stop. And when you try to just like put it back into gear, you're already at negative momentum.
Right.
So you're not going to have the same impact as when you were just on a roll.
Sure. Yeah. No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Momentum is super important, because if you, like, for my own self, whenever I'm doing well, there's like a massive amount of positive momentum. Say if I'm in the gym and then I'm feeling good, I'm working out, I'm sweating, I'm releasing endorphins or getting that high after when you work out, which then leads to more momentum to make me want to eat the right things, and then it makes me want to read the right things and watch the right things. So there's all this positive momentum, like you said, when you got that, but the same is true for negative momentum. Whenever I'm like not going to the gym, and then I'll eat like burritos and like candy and shit, and I'll drink, and it's just the opposite occurs.
Yeah, definitely.
When you have that negative momentum. So, we don't have anything planned for a specific agenda, but to focus on the importance of networking. And thank you for hooking me up with, you're a man of your word. You are living what you're doing. You hooked me up with one of your friends who's a music producer.
Yeah.
How'd you meet this guy?
Dang, man, that was a house party day.
A house party days?
Yeah, house party days, man. This kid, if you bring him on, he used to be like this, a little setup, but instead he'd have pianos, he'd have guitars, he'd have like all kinds of little things. And I remember like the reason why I knew this kid was gonna do something as well, or my friend, every time he would come hang out with us, he would always be like, hey man, you want to hear this new beat I just did?
Yeah,
like with his laptop,
working.
Like, hey man, like everybody that was around was like a hey man, so yeah, he's doing his thing out there too. He's also a designer and stuff like that. So I was actually talking to him right now when you saw me on the phone. Yeah, I was trying to bring him over here too as well, like for you just to meet him, get in contact.
On the podcast.
Yeah, so just it's all about networking, because like I said, the thing about networking too, and something that I heard Gary Vee talk about recently as well, is like everybody wants to receive something instead of giving, and it's like I don't know if I heard it in the Bible or not, because I do, like I said, I'm not really religious, but I do believe in God and stuff, but like I know like it's more about giving than receiving, know. And so that's why like I feel like if I put my people in the right positions to network and make new people, then it's either going to come to me on some way of me just grinding it out, or someone's going to do the same to me, pass on knowledge or pass on some type of beneficial
that's a great way
substance
to
my life,
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. There's this guy called David Metzler. Have you heard of him? David
No.
Metzler? He's another social media influencer on a more smaller scale than Gary Vee, but he talks a lot about that as well. It's like providing, and Gary Vee talks about this too, but like I give and I don't expect nothing, that's something that Gary Vee says. I give and I don't expect nothing. And that's a good way to look at it. But I think truly, that it's going to come back to you in one way or another, because you're giving so much, is that when you give to somebody, they're going to want to give back to you. And that's kind of just a natural thing. So the way that you do it, the way that I've seen, I was like, took a second to think. I'm like, dang, this guy has already provided me with a potential interview guest for my podcast. And I was like, man, thanks so much.
Yeah, no worries.
I really appreciate that, because not a lot of people do what you're doing. So it's interesting to me to have somebody like you on to talk about networking, because you're actually fucking networking,
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great, dude. And I used to go do a bunch of house parties as well and meet a lot of people as well, but I never thought of it that way. My brain just doesn't work that way in terms of, I guess, the go-getter mentality. And it's I guess, it's a fault of mine. But I just wonder if you can develop that type of mindset. And I'm sure you could through reading books and hanging around with the right people and just having a good time and meeting people and introducing people, because I'm a outgoing guy myself. So that is something that maybe picking your brain and being in your presence would rub off on me.
Yeah, definitely. It is. And I think that you can teach a lot of things, I don't think you can teach hustle, that is like something you gotta like finding your own, There's certain things you do, but like as long as you have the will to do it, you can do it. That's the way I see it. As long as like I don't know if Napoleon Hill says, if your mind can conceive, if your mind can conceive, you can achieve, or something like that, and it's like that's just the mentality that I have,
Think and grow rich.
Yes, if you that's what it says, right? If your mind can conceive,
something along those lines.
Yeah, so that was like the first book that actually got me into like an open, like just blew my mind up. But I learned that through the nightclub industry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the nightclub industry is what taught me how to be a go-getter.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how do you think about that? Just trying to make money, trying to get more network, get more people within your network?
Well, the thing that always stood out to me, man, is I used to be one of the main contract holders for Belasco nightclub about 4 years ago. About like 6 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I used to be with this guy named Locke. And he's like this little Asian guy, man. And he always used to come to the nightclub with different Bentleys every week. color Bentleys, I'm sorry. Yeah, probably the same Bentley, but just different colors. And then, yeah. And
he would paint it in something every weekend?
just different cars.
Oh, different cars.
Yeah, different
Okay.
cars seem just, I guess, painted. I don't know. But it was, yeah. And he would stand out just wearing like chanclas and looking like that's not his car, you know?
That's the best.
Yeah, like, you know, and like he had an accent to him and stuff like that. But like, we would have like a room of like 50 promoters, and then he would like just come and he'd be like, I'm gonna teach you guys something about life. It's not about promoting. You can use it in promotion, but it's a life thing, you know? And he's like, something that got me rich was I changed my vocabulary. And I'll never forget that speech, you know? He was like, I changed my vocabulary from, I don't use the word can't. I don't know the word can't. I use the word want, or, you know, just things like that. And so, like, it stood with me, you know, like, just the vocabulary and stuff. He's like, and that's
incredible.
Yeah, like, you know, just things like that. And it stood with me. And he was like, yeah, if you guys want to learn things, you guys need to read books. He's like, you guys are just in computers all day talking to girls and this and that. He's like, yeah, you guys are making money, but you're not learning nothing about life. He's like, read books. And he would give us like books. If you really want to get smart, read this book. And you either wrote it down or you didn't, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just one of them that wrote it down.
That is so interesting, because there's some people that will say like you don't even need to read books. You just have to have the hustle. But I think like if you have both of those ideas in your head, where you're like hustling and you're working, but at the same time you're gaining knowledge, it's almost like you're climbing a ladder with two hands, as opposed to just hustle, you know, with one hand, or opposed to just like reading books with this hand. Combining the two, it seems like a far more effective way to get ahead in life.
Yeah, like the way they say it is you're street smart and book smart, you know, at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and like if you look at anybody successful, even if you listen to the rap game and you hear them talking about drugs and all this other stuff, but if you really listen and you watch like, you know, podcasts or things like that about how they got up, is like they read books and they read the same books that we're talking about now, you know, like for example, 50 Cent, right? He made the 50 Laws of Power, which was still signed by Robert Greene as two of the other laws added on.
Right.
50 Cent says he got rich because of that book.
Wow.
You know, if you listen to even music like Yo Gotti, who's like a big Memphis gangster, he has a song called Laws, right? And in the song he says the rules to the game are the 48 laws. You know, and it's like some people might catch that as, what the hell does that mean, the 48 laws? But if you know, you know, it's one of those things. If you know, you know, when it talks about like the rules of the game are the 48 laws, you know, and it's like the 48 laws of power. Yeah. So even like Nipsey Hussle talks about things like that, you know.
Yeah, that's great.
Or, you know, Conor McGregor, you know.
Right. Conor McGregor is always talking about the law of attraction.
Exactly. You know, he speaks it into existence, always saying that, you know. And it's just like, just everybody, you know. Yeah. It's pretty much it.
Yeah, but I think you got to be careful too with just trying to manifest things out of your brain and not working. These guys all fucking grind, work. So I mean, I feel like an important piece. That's why I feel like, you know, both of those things extremely important. But what other books have you read, man? I got a bunch of like books like right behind you right there. I got
Tony Robbins,
you know, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill's right there as well. So I enjoy reading books as well. I think I got the Secret right there too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have like a book about habits. It's called The Power of Habits.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like this big yellow book that I bought at the last bookstore.
Sweet, man. Habits are super important.
Yeah, definitely. And like once I started reading that book, it like intrigues your mind as well, because then you start seeing like all these other successful people do habits, you know. For example, I was reading about Russell Westbrook. He's an NBA All-Star, right? He's like an MVP. They say he has the same habits before every game, you know. Kobe Bryant talks about having the same habits before every single game, you know. There's people that might like I'm not too sure what football player it was, because I heard it in football season it was, but he says he always eats a burger before a game.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah. So, you know, he eats a burger. You know, it's like Josh Hart eats Lucky Charms. You know,
wow, that's really weird.
Yeah, so these people eat like random things or do random things as a habit, because without it, it's kind of like an OCD, I guess you would say. You know, like you got to do it twice, but It's more habitual.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you were saying too about like the eating right and stuff. In the book, it actually says that like if you do something that disciplines your mind or your body or your emotion, you will be able to discipline other things in your life, you know, because you already learned, I guess, a discipline, you know, you learn how to discipline yourself because that's some of the hardest things to do.
Yeah. Take, for example, working out or like going to the gym. I mean, that's a habit. People who are in shape, you can tell like they're going 4 or 5 days a week to the gym.
Yeah.
And that's a habit that I think is important to build, because your health is, in my opinion, number one. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? Like, how can you do anything when you don't have your health? And right now, I think we take it for granted because we're young and we can get away with things. But, you know, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, it's going to be a lot more tough to get away with things. So I think there's a book that I have right in the back. It's called The Slight Edge Theory by Jeff Olson. And he talks about that success nor failure is an immediate event. It's a small decision, either in the right or wrong direction, that leads you into success or failure. So, for example, it's strange that, you know, people are eating Lucky Charms or people are eating burgers before every game, because that doesn't strike me as a successful small decision every time to lead you to success. But these people are successful. Maybe they got other habits to kind of counterbalance out, you know, the Lucky Charms or whatever. But yeah, that I think is super important, because if you're going to the gym consistently over time, it's just, you're gonna feel so much better. You're gonna have so much more positive momentum. You know, it's important to surround yourself with like success, health wise, money wise, relationship wise. I think those are very important.
Well, another thing too that I read in a book is like, you know, in order to be successful, I don't know if it's, I feel like it's an everyday thing, but it was for sales, but you have to have enthusiasm in life, you know, but it's like, you can't produce enthusiasm if your body's not feeling right, you know, like, you're, you know, you can tell your mind can tell you, hey, produce this, but if your body's sluggish, it's not gonna work. You know, it's like the car without gas. You know, you try to move it, it's not gonna move. You know,
right?
That's the same thing. You know, if you don't have the right energy flowing through your body or the right, you know, what, even the things you eat daily, you're not gonna have that right enthusiasm, the energy, the power, the strength, and whatnot.
I mean, think about like when you're ever like just talking about like energy, you can tell when somebody is are like enthusiastic about life by the way that they stand, right? They're standing up straight, you know, maybe they have their hands on their hips or something. They got good posture you know, with talking at a certain speed, talking in a certain way, you know, there's the look in their eyes. But then you can also tell when somebody is also having a rough time, you know, their shoulders are a little bit, you know, more, they're hunched over, they're speaking more slowly, they don't have a smile on their face, they're dead behind the eyes. And I think a lot of that shit comes with the 9-to-5 job. You know, if you don't like your job and you're just like doing it for the money, I get it, man, I get it, because you need to pay your bills, you need to survive, but god damn, you need to find another way in order to make money or do something, you know what I mean?
But I do think that the key is the gym or exercise, you know, like just get those endorphins going. Like, for example, me, tomorrow's my first day at AT&T, right? My goal is like, I'm going to be at a call center for a corporate office. So I'm going to try to like go to the gym in the mornings to get that energy going to last me the 4 or 5 hours, you know? Yeah,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
and eat the right things, you know, maybe some oatmeal in the morning or something like that, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. I feel you.
But I was also picking your brain on the thing that, well, not picking your brain, but just about people explaining about the life, like how they take life for granted. Trip on this fun fact of the day for you is, I used to make almost like $250,000 a year. Wow. And I had a spinal surgery. Remember I told you I used to be a contract holder for Belasco?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was paralyzed for about 2 years, man.
What the fuck? No.
Yeah, I have a 8-inch plate with like an 8-inch scar on my back.
Oh my god. Yeah. How'd that happen, dude?
In a car accident.
Jeez,
yeah, after a nightclub thing. And I gained about 250 pounds. So that's why you see me at the gym now, going back to losing it all.
Wow, dude. That is incredible, man.
Yeah, I had to sell my apartment. Well, not my apartment, but my house and my car. Yeah, so now I have a house with my brother and stuff like that, but I had to sell all that just to support my daughter for about 2 years.
That is crazy, man. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So when you were in this accident, I mean, what's the first thing that you remember, like, after the accident? Were you, like, totally fucked up afterwards?
Not really. I was able to, like, kind of, like, move and stuff like that, you know? It wasn't, like, a crazy accident, but it was just, like, it was kind of like a whiplash type thing, but it just prolonged. You thought it was going to get better and better, and then it just never did. And then, like, it got to a point where, like, I couldn't even move.
That is crazy, man. For 2 years?
Yeah.
That is nuts, man.
Yeah, well, I want to say 2 years. It took me a year for them to clear me to be able to move. And then it took about another year for me to be able to run and, like, exercise and stuff like that.
That is so crazy, man. That is, like, literally a miracle.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And now you're like, do you feel like you have full mobility in order to, like, go hard at the gym? Or?
I do, but I still don't push it to the max, you know, like I'm not, because I recently got hurt, like a sprained back playing basketball. So I'm kind of, like, trying to take it slow on that. But I mean, that's just the thing, like, when I was in paralyzed and stuff like that, the thing that I would mostly do was meditate. You know, and that's why I got into, like, reading books, and mostly I have audibles. Yeah, so I listen to more audibles than I read, but I do have a couple books that I do read occasionally.
Yeah, Audible is great because you can do other things while you're listening to the book. And I read somewhere where your, like, subconscious, like, even if you're, you know, cooking or doing some, you know, errands around the house, because I put Audible right here, and I just bump it from the sound bar, and I just kind of take it in, you know, and I'm not, like, paying too much attention. But if I hear something, like, sick, I'm like, oh shit, like, pause it, and then I'll write
rewind
it down.
A little bit. Yeah,
because it's interesting, man. Out of all the books that I have right there, usually I want to get maybe about, like, 1 or 2 things from the books that are just, like, extremely helpful, but it takes the whole book, all those words, you know. So but yeah, Audible is great, man.
Something you should do too is, like, when you revise the book, you'll eventually catch another thing that you missed.
Yeah,
you know,
you're in a different mindset.
Yeah,
Definitely, you would catch something for sure. You're able to pick up on different subtleties
or understand what they were trying to say. That's
Sure.
something that I've got into, was, like, I'll reread it and, like, that's what that means. Like, I can see where it puts it into perspective in my life, you know?
Yeah, that's so cool, man. All right, dude. Well, let's wrap up, man. In all honesty, dude, that's crazy that you told me about the accident and that you were paralyzed for 2 years and couldn't really move, gained 250 pounds, and now you're back in the gym. How much you weigh now?
Right now I'm at 225.
225.
Yeah.
So
I was actually, before my injury, I was at almost, like, 200. And then after that, once my injury and everything, I got up to, like, almost like 450.
whoa.
Yeah.
Good God.
I couldn't
man.
move. I was like strapped to a bed for, like, 8 months.
That is fucking insane, bro.
Yeah.
So, dude, you got to come back and tell me more about this. We got to do episode number 2 for this, yeah?
For sure.
Okay, cool, man. Thanks, dude. I
No worries.
appreciate it.
No worries.